has fortunately stopped raining here at our studio, and it is a relief because it's been raining relentlessly since this morning when it was so sunny. We hope you're enjoying our online coverage, and today our guest is the plenary speaker from this morning, Miss Aleksandra Zaparucha. Bardzo mi miło Pani poznać. Zapraszam.
Dziękuję bardzo.
That's me trying to learn languages. So, Alexandra, if I may, please tell us, how did you react when you were offered a plenary at an IATEFL conference?
Well, you can imagine I was just blown away.
More happy or more scared?
Challenged, but at the same time, kind of I saw it as an opportunity to talk to English teachers about things that matter to me. I'm a CLIL specialist. I specialize in content and language integrated learning. So I work with subject teachers who teach through English. So I really wanted also to talk to language teachers, you know, to show them that there are opportunities in CLIL for them.
You know, CLIL has been one of my favorite aspects of ELT, but whenever I introduce it to teachers, or whenever we have to look into a course book that actually makes judicious or even is totally devoted on CLIL and uses CLIL as its main methodology, I get this reaction, but I'm a language teacher. I cannot be asked to teach English through geography. So you're also a geography teacher,
Yes.
if I remember
Yes,
correctly.
correct.
Could you tell us a little bit, how would you reply to this comment?
Well, in my plenary, I really try to make show that this is a big thing. Subject teachers are language teachers, and language teachers are also content teachers. So I wouldn't like to look at teachers as like two separate groups that have nothing to do with each other, nothing in common. On the contrary, as a geography teacher, I have always been responsible for teaching the language of geography, terminology.
This is a key point that you have touched on.
That's
As a child,
language,
I
yes.
used to be so confused. First of all, geography was taught in a very linear way, without visual aids, without maps. It was more visualize it, you know where everything is. And it was one of those very boring, and unfortunately and unluckily boring lessons. So you talked about the language behind the subject, even if we're teaching the subject
Yes.
in L1,
Yes.
in the students' L1. You mentioned before the opportunities of CLIL and what we can gain out of it as a tool in our classroom. Can you tell us a little bit more about how your plenary developed that?
You know, one of the things that I can do as a geography teacher is to work with every other subject specialist in my school. But not with language teachers, like foreign language teachers. Like language curriculum is kind of completely separate.
And
Nothing to do,
isolated.
isolated. Has nothing to do with whatever is going on in biology, physics, or history. Whereas I can have a workshop done together with a biology teacher and chemistry teacher and history teacher. We can find common grounds, and students can see that. So if we introduce a little bit of CLIL through foreign language during foreign language classes, we may actually bridge this gap between different school curricula.
But then we get countries, and I'm not sure how exam-oriented Poland is, but I know that in Greece we are very exam-oriented.
yes.
Sometimes we tend to miss the forest for the tree, so it's more important to get the certificate than to actually be able to speak the language. And then we get this kind of criticism, but yeah, okay, CLIL at the same time that does not promote exam learning and exam strategies. How would you reply to this comment?
CLIL offers language learning, and you know, whichever way you get to the exam point, it's going to work. So I would just suggest language teachers to kind of move the language away from the first ground, from the foreground. Do some fun science. Just some
I like
other,
the term.
yeah, doing
I like
fun
the term.
science. Science can be really fun, and then you see your students engaged in an experiment, and then you can build on that to provide the language. So I'm not telling English teachers to stop teaching the language for good. I'm just trying to show them an extra way to motivate their students, to offer their students challenging ways of using the language, challenging ways like how to talk about science. That's a challenging language. Instead of waiting until those challenges come later on in life. Okay, we've got those challenges here. Talk about the scientific experiment using English. And as language teachers, we are really lucky. We have a repertoire of different exercises, activities. We know how to deal with recording, what to do with text. Just make sure that this text and this recording is connected this way or the other with other stuff the students are doing at school, like in history or physics or geography.
And actually, I think I like this idea of inclusivity. I know we've been talking about diversification and how this diversity should be reflected in our materials, but this is a different kind of inclusivity. I was thinking about what you said, making language learning a separate thing, like it's not part of our general repertoire of knowledge. And I feel that whenever we give our students more context, and that context is to talk about a diverse array of issues, we gain more, we gain a lot.
I think everyone gains. Subjects are going to gain, or subject teachers are going to gain, because that's like extra support for teaching subjects. Language teachers might find CLIL an exciting way, an engaging way that kind of helps motivate students and helps them concentrate on learning. And the students can see that, there are connections between everything that they are doing, that languages are not like completely separate from the other curricula.
And it's not all about the exams.
No, that's true.
And obviously, the older they grow and the more their exams move towards C2, the more the texts become more demanding, more scientific. And I believe that CLIL gives us the chance, as you said, to introduce this earlier. Yeah. Could you tell us a little bit about your own teaching context? You told me before that you are based in Torun in Poland.
Yes.
And which levels do you teach? Do you train teachers?
Actually, I've been a freelancer for the past 12 years, but before that I worked in a lower secondary and high school teaching geography, teaching English, and finally teaching geography through English. But now I mainly deal with subject teachers who come to the training panicking because they have no idea how to deal with language, foreign language in their teaching. So we just teach them like usual EFL stuff, how to break language down, and we are trying to give them more confidence in those terms. So I train mainly CLIL teachers, but also I do general methodology trainings. I write materials. I come to conferences.
Good for you.
Thank you.
Good for you, because we need to learn from conferences. Now, one of the questions that keeps coming up in this set of interviews is the criticism that conferences like IATEFL cannot obviously cater for everybody's needs, and they do not necessarily give something back to all of us. How do you feel about that? Do you believe that these conferences might not be related to some people's teaching context?
This kind of rings the bell. People come to my training, and then what? Can I actually provide something for everyone? So what I would say is, well, I know I cannot provide everything for everyone all the time, but it is my participants' task to find one thing, two things, or three things that they are going to take from the course. It might be something little, but if they take nothing, I might blame myself, but I would also look at the other side. How much effort have you done, and have you come to my training with your mind closed, or have you come to my training with your mind open to the new ideas coming? So I think a conference like this it's kind of the same, just on a bigger scale. So I would say that it's my task as a participant to go to the workshops that I think are going to give something to me and pick up one little thing here or there. And it's okay if all the other stuff is not relevant, because it just cannot be relevant to everyone all the time.
Of course, and obviously IATEFL does not only think of my teaching context,
of course,
or yours, or our countries. It has to think of the international scale, and I'm very happy because IATEFL tries to keep up with the trends and include things that might be just coming up in our vocabulary.
Yes.
Which brings me to one of our favorite questions. Of course, you know that tomorrow we are starting to introduce a new tradition, an old tradition coming back, and this is the interactive plenary, which is on the future trends of ELT, the future directions of ELT. Anything you would like to predict for the future? Do you see any changes?
I think it's very difficult to predict things like that, but this question brings me back to 2013 when I came here first for IATEFL. It was also Liverpool.
Yes, it was.
So 6 years later, and CLIL is in a plenary session. And 6 years ago, I wouldn't even think about, me doing plenary, but also having or listening to a plenary on CLIL, because it was kind of there, but we were not very comfortable with that. Now CLIL is on the stage, so things do happen, and I hope that CLIL is going to stay.
We all do.
Yeah, and that we just need to make sure that everyone is more comfortable with it.
And that it is part of the mainstream education of teachers, so that it can be comfortably used.
Yes, that's true.
Dziękuję bardzo.
Dziękuję. My pleasure.
And thank you so much for being here and being tuned on our channel. Goodbye for a little while and see you again for the next interview.